Alright, so Battlebot stuff that I'm working on. Well, this is the Battlebot area. 3D printer is going. It is currently working on the current iteration of the Battlebot chassis. As is my son's 3D printer, also working on parts. 3D printers are slow machines. So here's what we got. I started out with this. This is probably the first one that I made. Very square, blockish. I was just learning Fusion 360 at the time. And this is not bad, but the infill was a little too thick, so this is too heavy. Then, for my next, I did this one with the same design, essentially, with much lighter infill. Gyroid, 10%, I believe. And the way I designed this was that it would be invertible. See, you put them together like this, and you'd have a complete chassis. Well, that section came later, but each design had modifications. So that way I could print out a whole bunch of these, and then whichever side got damaged I could replace. I've since kind of abandoned that. I could still do it. I don't think I will. Next design was, then I realized this design here had a fundamental flaw, and I will show you that flaw. Had a lot of flaws. This was the big one. That was it. It could land on its back. The back was completely flat. So the next thing I did was add some build-outs to it. You see, this is my next version. Again, I was still being symmetrical. And now, of course, it won't stand up anymore. I know it looks tacked on because, of course, it was. And this weighed 158 grams, which is not bad. That's about the budget. The body budget is 150 grams. I guess I should start with that. The basic hardware that I can't make, that I can't get around, that I have to have wheels, right? So a wheel weighs about 14 grams. This is actually a heavy version of it. I've got a hogged out version that's probably about maybe half the weight, maybe 2/3. So if this is 14 grams, let's call it 10 and say that I got 20 grams there, which this one is a double wide. I'll come to that in a minute. 27, let's say it's 20. So the next thing I did was I looked at this and I said, hey, 150 grams, I can make it wider and still be in budget. So this was designed to have one wheel in it like this, right? And the drive motor sits inside it like so, right? And then has a little support here and is easy to switch in, switch out, drive in, drive out. So I double wided it, and then I increased the belt armor, and then I figured, well, I need some front armor, and I wanted to see the top section as well, and I ended up with what I call the Beast. This is the Beast. Yeah, 250 grams. It is 100 grams over budget. It's gigantic. Had plenty of belt armor. Has plenty of belt armor. The internal radio box is very thick. Lots of redundant things redundant bulkheads to absorb attacks from probably directions it won't ever come from. And of course, it was big enough to have, the double wide wheel in there. And I realized it's far, far too heavy. So I kind of started from scratch. I took the whole design and I just nuked the whole thing and went back to first principles and ended up with this. This is my current iteration design. Now you can see that it's making the top half right now, and this is the bottom half. Much more flowing, organic, a lot more cutouts, a lot more weight reduction, and it does come in at 102 grams. Now presumably this is the bottom half, the top half will be at least that, so it's 200 grams, which means it's still too heavy. And I assume that's due to very heavy belt armor and this, the weapon bracket, retainer, the arm. It's very thick and probably overbuilt, but of course I don't, I expect it to be whacked and have to absorb all kinds of damage. You can see some of the damage already because I've run some tests on what happens when I impact this with things like, hammers and you just bang it on the table. It's just see what happens, right? So, on the subject of the weapon, I don't have any of the wheels that were cut out yet. I'm expecting them probably tomorrow. The way they are built up is I got these really cool rubber grommets. These are flexible neoprene, fairly flexible. And my intention is that they will fit in here like this into the deep recess. You see, fit into there, and it does fit in there quite snugly. On my first try, I had to adjust I've had to adjust most of the tolerances and the faces and stuff on almost all of this. This worked the first time. I was really kind of amazed. So the back of the motor is going to be fastened to this metal bracket, and the metal bracket is going to be fastened to the neoprene. So you can see that this is a soft mount. The motor this can absorb some shock. That's going to sit in like this. The upper part spins, and then the second half, the bottom half, is going to be just captured by this. This is going to be sitting in the bottom half, and there'll be a sleeve that goes into there. Doc's actually making me sleeves that are going to go into there. That's going to go in like this, the sleeve, and then the weapon is going to be fastened here with these are M2 screws, 3 M2 screws, a fairly large bushing that's going to be friction clutched to the actual weapon itself. We'll see how well that works. Again, it all comes out in testing. So these go around the wheels. On the subject of wheels, these are wristbands I got off of Amazon. They're just rubber. They have great grip. They go around the wheels to make the traction. Have to have 2 of those. Going to have 2 grommets. All right. Going to have, I don't know if 250 milliamp battery is going to be enough, but that's my start. Of course, there's the motor assembly. I'll take one of the grommets off. This is my receiver here. 2 of these geared drive motors for the wheels. This is the speed control for the brushless motor. And there's probably going to be some more miscellaneous electronics. I'm going to need a brain. These are hubs that go on the inside. They're aluminum. They're not very heavy, but you know, they add up. Maybe a couple more electronics pieces. I'll simulate that with another speed control, or with a speed control here. Puts me at, with the wheel. Now, of course, I'd have 2 wheels. Like I said, we're going to add 20 grams for the wheels. Puts me at 184 plus 20 more grams, so 204 grams. Let's assume that I could probably pare that down to 200 with some lightning holes, so 200 grams. That is the fixed budget. That is what I have to have. I cannot modify this any more than that. So this has to go in the bot, and it's going to be about 200 grams. Which, now the weapon is going to be about 100 grams, made out of steel, and I can't do much about that either. I could probably make it smaller. I can play with it, but let's assume 200 grams, 100 grams there. That means that I'm at 304 grams, 300 grams for the weapon plus the electronics, which leaves me a budget of 150 grams for the chassis, of which this absorbs 100 of, and I guarantee that's going to be another 100. So I've got to find 50 grams. I've got to find a way to reduce this by 25%, and as you can see, I've already put quite a few holes in it. I think I'm going to have to probably hog this area out here, maybe hollow out this belt armor. I mean, it's already hollow, of course. This isn't solid plastic. This is, you can see the gyroid infill that it's creating, right? It's not mostly air, but it's definitely on the friendly side of hollow. But I can probably pull that out. This is, I'm sure, overbuilt. Might be able to put some slots into here, maybe fillet this down or something. Really what I got to do is I got to swing the weapon around. I got to swing the thing around and just start smashing into tough stuff that doesn't move, and see what breaks and what doesn't break, and that'll tell me where I can remove some material, because there's quite a bit of material in this upper and, of course, lower arm. It's going to look like this, right? So yeah, and that's where I am right now. So thank you for all the support and suggestions that I've gotten on the board, that I've gotten and received. I am paying attention. I'm looking at them all, and especially the experienced people who have built BattleBots before and have built things like this before and have given me fantastic advice, so that my first iteration, I'll probably not make a couple of dumb mistakes. I'm sure I'll make completely new, interesting, dumb mistakes, but I'll be able to at least start from something that's in the realm of sanity, and just see what happens when I start smashing it into things. And thanks for supporting and following me along.